Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, April 25th, and we have got some more football news. First of all, I'm appreciating once again that we have the three of us together for a couple of segments. I know we've had some hectic pods the last couple of weeks, but it's nice to get the Avengers all assembled.
Yeah, with any luck, it'll be an entire show one of these days.
Yeah, one of these days. We're that close. Oh, Kenny's going to... Don't you do it. Oh, that was good. That was good.
He thinks he's Thanos. Don't encourage that.
I thought that was good. If you're watching on the YouTube, Kenny did the snap and then.
Yeah, off topic. I found a thread yesterday. It's like one of those things like just on Twitter these days where, just
X.
Sorry, the everything happens on X. It was like name a supervillain that was in the right. And a lot of people said Thanos, like a lot. And I was one of them.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
All right.
Back to the football stuff. Just thought that was funny. I wasn't one of them.
We've got news. Kenny, for the record, let the record show he was not one of them. We've got some football transfer news, not a super eventful show. I mentioned it. I'll mention it in quick hits as well. We are going to do Mizzou NFL draft recap stuff on Monday. We're just going to let the draft finish out, considering the unfortunate potential. Say Luther goes in the second round. We might not have all of the names. So we'll talk about that more in depth on Monday. I will get at the end of this segment a quick prediction for where those Lutheran members are going to go from you guys just for fun. But Kenny, I will throw it over to you first, sir, because Mizzou has had a couple of, or at least one movement, our latest movement football wise in the spring portal. Payton and I talked about him last show. Jaylen Early, the offensive tackle from Florida State, has committed to Mizzou. He will be a Tiger in the offensive line fold next year. Both of y'all's thoughts. I have some PFF numbers here for him too that I'll share, but I'll let you guys weigh in first. Sophomore coming in, adding some depth to that offensive tackle room. Kenny, Payton, discuss. What do you think about this addition for Mizzou coming from Florida State?
Well, we talked about it a bit on the last show. I mean, Early played a bit of right guard and right tackle at Florida State. Obviously, Kenny's going to be more suited to talk about what his fit is at Mizzou. I like it if it's kind of just reinforcements on the interior, personally. I'm not as big a fan if this is kind of the left tackle. We know that there's somewhat of a competition there, and that maybe Mizzou is looking for a little more at that position. I would kind of hope this isn't that solution. I'll acknowledge there's not a whole ton that really entices me in the spring portal. The spring portal is kind of lame, guys. I mean, let's just be completely honest. Compared to the winter portal, this is this is like the second most important portal going on right now in college athletics. So, but I kid. I mean, you do get useful players out of this. And Early, if nothing else, I think should be good depth. I am interested to see what the plan is with him.
Yeah, I think one of those things is just the biggest competition. Logan Riker kind of got banged up in the spring, so that's competition at the right guard spot too. Dominic Gidice, looking at maybe one of those interior spots as well, coming over from Michigan. I wouldn't expect Dominic just to be, the backup center right away, behind Connor Tollison. And, if Tollison's back and healthy from that knee injury right away, then I would assume Dominic is battling maybe for that right guard spot too with Logan Riker and Early now. It's just, I think right now it's just, you really don't have any sense of what this offensive line will look like moving forward. I think the only two spots that in my mind are, really set down, and I'm not going to say center right now just because, you're still waiting on Tollison to get back and ready for that. But I guess you can't throw him in there. I think Caden Green and Keegan Trost are the only ones that really locked down a spot, that we can probably confidently say will be on the starting offensive line come week 1 in August. And I think that is, Keegan at right tackle and then Caden Green at left guard. And I think that's probably what you're looking at. And then the rest will kind of just be that competition going into fall camp. Johnny Williams coming over from West Virginia, Javen Richardson, who was a JUCO commit a couple years ago. Those guys battling at the left tackle spot. And I think bringing in a guy like Jaylen Early, who has 2 years of eligibility remaining, is a big deal as well. He's a Duncanville kid. Brandon Jones knows him well, recruited him when he was at University of Houston. So some good overlap there, and it was his only visit. It was his first visit, so that's always good as well when you're in that second spring window or in the spring transfer window. Whoever you kind of get on campus, you sometimes have a good feeling those are the guys that you're going to get. I will say I have called Jaylen Early twice. He has picked up twice, but we have not had any more of a conversation other than to say he's super busy right now trying to move from Tallahassee to Columbia. But yeah, I think right now, you're not expecting the world from Jaylen Early, but it does add a layer of competition for this summer. And I think that's going to be a big thing, is hearing those coaches, Drinkwitz specifically, who he's liking, at the offensive line position. And, our iron sharpens iron. And I think, bringing in a guy with experience from Florida State, a team 2 years ago that went undefeated in regular season play and then won the ACC, even with the struggles that the offensive line staff had at Florida State, it's still good depth. It's still a good body to bring in. And it's good to have competition.
So Kenny, just to be clear, and I doubt you don't have to say anything definitive, obviously, but he's someone you could see, and I guess I'll quantify it with his PFF numbers. So last year he played 9 games, 79 offensive grade, only a 64.1 pass block grade, but an 86.2 run block grade. So yeah, and to clarify, he could potentially, and obviously we'll see how it all shakes out, maybe slide inside and be that, whatever, it's a depth option, maybe on the interior. He doesn't seem like he maybe isn't a strict offensive tackle.
No, I don't think so at all. I think the versatility is just so key, kind of a Swiss Army knife offensive lineman that will battle for snaps at different spots. Yeah. I think this offensive line is going to be a little bit different from last year. I don't think you're going to maybe expect, Joe Moore Award semifinalists, maybe like it was in 2023. It's still a lot of moving parts and a lot of development you're looking for in guys like Johnny Williams, if he's going to be your left tackle of the future. So this competition's good. I don't think, I can probably confidently say I don't think it'll be the same rotation every single game. In last year, Caden Green got banged up at times, and they had to, bring in Mitchell Walters, and then you lost Connor Tollison late in the year. This is just a good move. I think, you definitely needed an experienced offensive lineman just to join that group and be a part of, maybe the options when they try to shift through who's going to start come week 1.
Yeah, if you're kind of trying to keep introducing that outside zone, run thing, seems like bringing a guy with good run blocking grades, it's a good way to do that. Payton, I'm going to run through this with you just because this is a good offensive line spiel. I'm just looking at the rough hour lads kind of depth chart for Mizzou. And at left tackle, you guys talked about a bunch of them already. It is Johnny Williams is the starter, Javen Richardson behind him, left guard Caden Green with Tristan Wilson behind him, center Colin Tollison with Dominic, is it Giudice, my bad. Logan Reichert at right guard with Curtis Piegler behind him, and then Keegan Trost with Brandon Solis behind him. And then now you have Early somewhere splashed in that mix, probably as a backup as well. Just your overall thoughts, Payton, on the O-line kind of outlook there for Mizzou. Kenny obviously said it too. Probably not a Joe Moore winning unit, but some pieces maybe to like there.
I will say I think a lot has to probably go right for it to really kind of reach its potential. I think everybody is pretty sold on Caden Green, and I know some people have said, they should move him to left tackle. Please stop trying to move O-linemen that are doing really well where they are. We had to listen to people try and move Armand Membu to guard for 2 years.
Yeah.
And he's about to be a top 10 pick at right tackle. So I just don't move pieces that already fit. I would keep Caden Green at left guard and let him be a great left guard. Assuming Tollison's healthy, obviously you'll keep him at center. Trost, very experienced right tackle. You're obviously you're never going to be able to get the play you got from the past 3 years out of that position. So if you could just get like maybe even Marcus Bryant level production out of that, I really think that's probably good enough for Trost. Left tackle is kind of, everyone makes that out. I'm not a believer that left tackle is exceedingly more important than right tackle. I think both the tackle spots are really important, but obviously left tackle is not one you want to have a big question mark on. So I'd hope one of Williams or Richardson, or maybe Early, or maybe they bring in someone else, is able to kind of separate at left tackle. And Giudice seems like a decent piece at right guard. We'll see what happens when we get to fall camp. That's when we're going to really know more, because Drinkwitz says all the time he does not decide starting positions in the spring.
Yeah.
I'll throw in one last thing just too about that versatility with Jaylen Early. He's got that size of like this kind of guard position, guard that, Mizzou is kind of going after. Henry Fanuku, they signed in 2025 class from the Dallas Fort Worth area as well, just like Jaylen Early. He's around that 6'3", 6'4", 295, 297. And those are like, athletic guards. Those are guys that can get downfield too. Those are guys that can move. And they're not just like these big hulking guards that you've seen in years past. So that's something that does intrigue me. I think that versatility will be key, almost like EJ Ndoma Ogar a couple years ago, someone who could probably play inside or the offensive tackle, but you're kind of hoping Jaylen Early can take that step forward and not be a guy like EJ who kind of just got pushed back on the depth chart and then ended up leaving.
Yeah. Yeah, I just figured it was good probably to refresh, people of frankly myself too, for just those names and who we're kind of going to be seeing on that two deep going into the fall. So there you go. Jaylen Early, the latest addition. And then Kenny, I know you have a quick note on Elias Rudolph, who Payton and I talked about last show. What is the latest with his status, the Miami edge rusher?
Yeah, visited earlier in the week. You talked about that overlap with Devin Nicholson. That's a good thing. 4 years of eligibility remaining. You lose 2 depth pieces in the spring transfer window at the defensive end position. So looking at a guy was probably a good move. But, in the back of my mind, I wasn't thinking like, you do all the pre-writes, you have everything ready, the graphics made and all this kind of stuff, behind the scenes, just in the case that, the visit does go well, and it's the first visit. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I don't think he would commit right away because Mizzou is hosting a defensive end, a JUCO defensive end, with the same amount of eligibility, if not more, because he has that 1 year into JUCO ranks this weekend for an official visit in Joshua Shanklin. And in my mind, I was just like, he's listed an outside linebacker, but that's just because the positions had changed after the class of 2025, but he is an edge defender as well. And so it's just another one of those guys where it's like, I don't think Mizzou would take both of them. Like there was just no reason to. They're down to 2 scholarships if the 85 scholarship cap still exists. And then the 105 scholarship cap, just an NCAA, they would be 3 spots left. So it just didn't really make too much sense to bring in 2 defensive ends when you might be looking at maybe a defensive tackle or a cornerback or just anywhere else where you could add experienced depth with multiple years. So I felt like these guys were just, it's either one or the other. And Joshua hasn't visited yet. He's going to come in for an official visit this weekend. Maybe take your time on who you're going to take there, but he's a full qualifier. So he's going to sign in the class of 2025 just a lot later than everyone else, and he'll be eligible to play next season. So that's what kind of made me think that the Rudolph commitment wouldn't come right away. And if it did, I don't think Joshua Shanklin would have visited this weekend, but he's still on track to visit. So maybe he's kind of the name to watch if they're going to add an edge defender or a defensive end in the coming weeks.
There you go. One portal name to another. Technically, or
not.
Technically, he's a 2025. I get, yeah. The community college JUCO guys always get muddled up a little bit there, but yeah, there you go. So Joshua Shanklin, the latest name to watch for Mizzou, possibly on the edge defender front. A couple of quick basketball things. This is, I guess, just more of a refresh, and Payton, I'll let you give maybe some refresh thoughts on him. Javon Porter, you probably saw it on X.com, the Everything app. It all happens on X. He officially signed for Mizzou. Of course, was the first transfer get for them in the portal. Younger brother of Michael Porter Jr. Payton, just your quick thoughts on Javon. Maybe again, refresh the people. How we feeling about him as kind of a power forward ad? Obviously, Loyola Marymount last year officially signed for Mizzou men's basketball.
I mean, he's pretty tall. And he sure likes to shoot 3-pointers. That's kind of what you're getting. He's obviously going
Called
to
a
be a part of.
stretch. We can, you can be a technical.
Yeah, it's a stretch, all right. No, I'm totally joking. Javon Porter, I think with as long as Dennis doesn't get goofy, which is I know probably asking quite a bit of him at times, I think this can be a perfectly fine ad. I think if you go a little smaller and have Javon Porter out there maybe at the 5 or something like that, I think that's an interesting look you can throw at teams. It's just going to come down to, is Javon Porter going to be more efficient than he was at Loyola Marymount? Because he was not a very efficient basketball player in the West Coast Conference, which is not great. I mean, when you're taking a leap up like this, hopefully coming to a place where he doesn't have to be one of the 3 premier scoring options. In fact, maybe he doesn't have to be in the premier 5. Maybe that kind of takes some of the heat off him, kind of opens up his game a little more. Playing next to Mark Mitchell probably takes some attention off him, you'd think. There's a lot of possibilities where this works. It's just I am wary just because the numbers in the West Coast Conference were not good. That's just kind of the only way I can put it.
Yeah, that's fair. Kenny, you have any quick Porter things? I have one little note if not, but
sorry if we don't mention maybe the other guys he announced. I thought they would all announce them like all at once.
Yeah, they haven't all technically signed yet.
Yeah,
so.
but Porter's the first one that came in, and it came in what, 3 weeks after he committed?
Almost 4 days away from a month.
Okay, yeah, there we go. So, and we're recording here on Wednesday, so yeah, it'll be by the time you're listening to this, if you're listening to this on the weekend, it'll have been a month since Javon Porter committed to the Tigers.
There you go. Crazy. It feels like an eternity. The only other thing I'll throw, I just want to piggyback off Payton's point. I think it's a good one about the usage stuff and how that translates. You can have a lot of hit or miss things there, and it's I think partially why Payton looks for usage when he's using Kenny's favorite app, Handy Dandy Torvik, to look at guys, because when you have that translate to a high major from a mid major or a low major, you can get these guys that come in and because they don't have the ball all the time, they're just not sure how to find a role within an offense. And then sometimes you have guys that adjust to that kind of naturally and they become efficient. They do the things they're good at a lower volume and they figure that out. I think that's what that's what you're hoping kind of becomes of Javon Porter with Mizzou. That's at least how I interpreted what you said, Payton. But yeah, I agree with you. It can work. Certainly there are skills there. And obviously it's, kind of a legacy thing. So it'd be fun to see that. Other basketball note before we kick it to ourselves. Payton Marshall, he found a new home. We did not have this in our quick hits segment, so we're throwing it in here just on Wednesday when we're recording this. Signed for Georgia Tech. I know this might seem like a weird, kind of sidestep, and obviously Payton Marshall, you can say what you will about freshmen leaving too early and not giving a chance. I will give Georgia Tech some credit here. They're building something a little bit down there. They have had some good recruiting wins. I know the ACC was really down last year, but their program, I kind of like that for Payton Marshall. Played at OTE as a high schooler or a prep guy, which is in Atlanta where Georgia Tech is. So built some connections probably there. I like it. Congrats to him. That's all I got. If you two have any Payton Marshall parting thoughts, if you will.
I mean, it's a shame it didn't really work out at Mizzou. He's very intriguing. If he can really kind of just get refined, get up to, high major speed, he gets to go closer to home. So good for him. No, that's just kind of the way it is. Half of the freshmen you get nowadays in any sport are going to wind up transferring. Mizzou lost 2 of 5 from last year. Marcus Allen still hasn't committed anywhere, which I find interesting. We'll see where he ends up. But Payton Marshall to Georgia Tech, I mean, that's a decent spot for him. We'll see. I really just hope that he doesn't go to Georgia Tech like with the idea that he needs to play like 20 minutes a game. Like, I'd hope he's going somewhere that can really hopefully develop him into the player he could become, because the ceiling on Payton Marshall, I think, really is sky high.
Yeah, it was Damon Stoudemire's the coach there. I was trying to find his name to throw that out with Georgia Tech. I like what he's building there, just as a side note. So yeah, Payton, like if he can go there and kind of develop, turn into that high major player, it could be someone fun. So There you have it. And then, yeah, that's all we got. Obviously, more news. We'll talk NFL draft stuff on Monday. But for now, we will kick it to ourselves.
All right, before we send it over to Payton and I to talk with Gavin Hoffman, we got a couple more just little notes just to talk about. The first one is Marcus Allen joining Payton Marshall with a new home. Marcus Allen's going down to South Beach. He's going to be at Miami with CY. Charleston Young, the former Missouri staffer who went over to Miami with the Hurricanes this offseason. He recruited Marcus Allen. He gets Marcus Allen back. Payton Marshall also had heard from Miami, and he's ended up with Georgia Tech. So this is kind of just another domino that was falling. Now it's up for the walk-ons to find their next home.
Yeah, it's funny. I mentioned literally in the last segment, like, oh, it's interesting Marcus Allen hasn't committed yet, because, I mean, we could have penciled this one in 3 weeks ago, I swear. Even when he first entered, everyone penciled in Miami as a logical decision. And then CY went there, and I was surprised Marcus Allen didn't commit 2 hours later. But better late than never. It's a good spot for Marcus Allen, close to home. He's with a coach that obviously believes in him. I do think Marcus Allen obviously has a ways to go offensively, but if he can get there, I think the ceiling on him is pretty intriguing. Best of luck to him. It's just the way college basketball and just college athletics in general work. You're going to lose a lot of freshmen nowadays.
One more note from the transfer portal. Mizzou was connected to Travis Perry among the teams that were reaching out to the Kentucky guard transfer per his agency on Thursday. This is a name some Mizzou fans might know. Mizzou was recruiting him out of high school. He ended up with Kentucky, played against Mizzou only a couple of minutes and scored 3 points last season. But for you, Payton, I mean, how intriguing is this as another guard spot with only 2 roster spots to fill?
Very. I would really love this move for Mizzou. Travis Perry, like you said, they were after him hard in high school. It's really tough, though. I mean, he's from Kentucky. He got the Kentucky offer. Tough to beat that when that happens. We'll see what happens now. Half of the SEC is after this guy, it seems like, including Arkansas. Coach Cal, obviously, was the one that took Travis Perry at Kentucky, and Perry stayed through the coaching change. Maybe now he looks to follow him to Arkansas. I guess we'll see. But for those that don't know, Travis Perry is supposed to be like just one of the best. Like, he could develop into an all-time sharp shooting 3-point guy. It didn't show this year. He was a true freshman. He's not a superb athlete or anything. And this past year was maybe the best year a conference has ever had in what the SEC did. So it's tough spot for a true freshman, but I'd love this idea as adding this guy as one of those last 2 spots, and then adding a wing, hopefully as the other one. But just the upside on Travis Perry, it's a big upside play, but I really think it's a super intriguing high reward option.
The funny thing I've seen just about this move, just some jokes that have been thrown out there, is that he would be the player to be named later, returned for Travis Ford, of course, the longtime SLU coach and former Missouri Tiger who went to Kentucky in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s. So just a return there, just a couple decades later, and I guess there's really just no expiration on that player to be named later. Last basketball news, and we kind of really did this in just a skeleton kind of look to it, but we talked about, some Hall of Fame people, new Mizzou sports Hall of Famers throughout the show. We talked about one with Gavin Hoffman, with his cousin Sophie Cunningham, and then Payton we'll talk about Brock Olivo once we get to quick hits here in the next couple minutes. But this is kind of a cool one too. Kareem Rush was on the show with us not too long ago, like 2 weeks ago, just kind of talking about his new ventures, what he's been up to. And I saw that video just on Twitter.
It was last week.
Yeah, it was last week. It feels like a long time ago. And just when I saw that video with him talking with Coach Gates or with Dennis, in my mind, I was just like, oh, this is what he was talking about when he came on the show. He's going to have those meetings with Dennis. They're going to post them everywhere. And I think this was just one of those additional ones. And even Kareem kind of went on Instagram and kind of, teased it a little bit, like something big's coming. And, the idea maybe him floating out there being the next GM or being the GM for Mizzou basketball maybe creeped into some people's minds. Maybe it was something to do with his new venture or any entrepreneurship he had up next. But no, this is pretty cool. Like, it's very cool that a lot of things are happening for Kareem Rush all at once. And, he's going to get very involved with Mizzou basketball here in the next couple of months, and perfect time to induct him into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, overdue, I'd say. And maybe now it's a perfect time because, like you said, he's got his new venture going. He's getting involved with the university a bit. But I would have I'm a little, again, I'll say, like I say, like in the future of this video with Brock Olivo, I'm surprised it kind of hadn't already happened, because Kareem Rush, one of the all-time Mizzou greats for basketball. Again, better late than never. It feels like I've had to say that 5 times this show, but good for him. Don't blame us for not having this in one segment. Mizzou just decided to release one a day, and they'll release one more on Friday, which you will get in Sunday's show.
Yep.
Well, Monday's show. We record
Monday
Sunday.
show.
Boy, we really like to break the fourth wall here on the Unwritten Rule.
We're talking to you, viewer. Well, that's going to do it just for that early segment, just kind of a cut in right here, just talking about some other basketball notes that came across our desks. But we're going to throw it over to Payton and myself. Gavin Hoffman will join us in the middle screen. He'll take my name. And then I will be Jack, and Payton will remain Payton. And that's how it's going to look. But we'll see you on the other side with Gavin Hoffman.
You said come across our desks. I don't have a desk in front of me.
Ignore him.
And now for something completely different.
All right, now we welcome on a very special guest. He is one of the latest Missouri Tigers' latest commitments in the spring transfer window. That's Gavin Hoffman, Kansas product, not too far away from Columbia, knows Missouri well. And I got a good place to just start with this, Gavin, just getting right into it. You're Casey area kid. Mizzou was your first Power 4, Power 5 offer.
Yeah.
There seemed to be plenty of interest. I mean, what separated Mizzou this time around? And this could be a little bit of a joke, but was it the bowl game?
No, not at all. I mean, that's probably what people would kind of think. But I don't know. I don't know. Just someone was telling me to go be a Missouri Tiger. I felt like, and my family is just like they're all kind of around there, so like being close to home was kind of important to me. And I just think that Missouri's got a really good program that's going on right now. So I just want to go be part of that, playing the SEC and stuff. So. Yeah.
And I mean, Kenny kind of mentioned it there. The first time around out of high school, I mean, like Missouri seemed to be a pretty big factor up until the end. Obviously, Iowa's kind of tough to deny, being a tight end and all. But what kind of this time around made you like really more sure that Missouri was like the right place for you to be?
I don't know. I was just kind of, I was 17 years old making a decision, kind of just, immature and stuff. And, not saying it was a bad move for me at all. Like, tight end U is obviously just a great thing up here at Iowa, and that's just kind of what I wanted to be a part of. I didn't really see the tight end production at Mizzou, really being that high. And then, kind of just saw Brett Norfleet just get some more action and stuff, and just kind of offense they're running, more 12 personnel and stuff. And that was kind of attractive in my part. But no, I just probably just have to go back to the family aspect. I like playing up here at Iowa, but it was like 5-6 hours away from my family and stuff. So I didn't really have like a support system around me, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, I talked with Coach Potts. For those who don't know, one of those trainers you have in the KC area, and one of the things he talked about was that camp at Mizzou. Before your senior year, and where I think schools really saw that there was development there. Like you had all these traits, and you're building into that size, into that frame. Can you walk us through that camp, and then how hectic maybe that June was for you?
Yeah. So I mean, I went to that camp as soon as I got there. The tight end coach kind of came up to me, walked me over the scales, just like. Because he wanted me to be 220 pounds around there for the camp and stuff. And then I went over there, and then I just ended up having a really solid camp. I jumped like a 40.3-inch vertical in front of all the coaches, and then that kind of made them say kind of wow. And then I won some one-on-ones when we were doing one-on-one reps with versus the DBs as a receiver. So I don't know. It was pretty hectic. I got that offer, and it was pretty surreal. I was like my mom played here, all my cousins played here and stuff, and they kind of built their own legacy here. And I don't know, it was really cool feeling because I ended up staying the night in Columbia the night after, and it was just getting phone calls the next day, every day. And then I I went to camp the next day, got a few more offers, and then I just kept, talking to these coaches, and then I took some visits. Like I think that like 2 days after I got my first Power 5 offer, I flew out to Arizona State for just a visit because they said I couldn't be on campus until I posted the offer or whatever it was. But yeah, it was hectic. It was definitely tough to make a decision, and at 17 years old, it's a big decision for your career and everything like that. So
I mean, just talking about kind of your relationship with Drinkwitz and maybe the rest of the coaching staff. I mean, they were on you early, and I mean, obviously being a KC area kid, that helps. Having a lot of family ties to Mizzou obviously helps, but just kind of talk about your relationship with Drink in particular and what it meant to just have him be in on you so early.
I mean, yeah, it was really really surreal to get an offer in his office, my first Power 5 offer in his office. So I mean, we built a good relationship there. I obviously chose Iowa over Missouri a few years back, and I just don't think any bridges were burnt. And I think we kind of just like we got on the phone when the portal opened, and it's just the same conversation. We haven't talked in a few years, but it's I still think we have a pretty strong connection there. I mean, he kind of just told me he didn't want to miss on me twice. So that was kind of cool to hear. So, but no, yeah, no bridges were burnt. I think, we just kind of always had a good relationship, especially with the coaches and stuff.
Was Coach Cato there in 2023 when you were being recruited by Missouri the first time, or was it just primarily Coach Link?
So I was primarily recruited by Coach Link because he was doing special teams and tight ends, but he ended up just now he's doing full time special teams. And Cato was there. Just he was an analyst, but I never really met Cato. But once I once I got up there for a visit last week and stuff, I just kind of really learned how knowledgeable he is about the game and how much he knows ball, and it's just really cool to see how he can pour that into me and help me become a better player overall, which is gonna be awesome.
I want to go back to you talked about how the first time around you weren't sure about like the production out of Missouri's tight ends. I mean, Brett Norfleet is back in the fold still
Yeah.
with Missouri. So I'm curious, like, what did the coaches kind of pitch you on in just trying to?
I mean, there wasn't really like a pitch. I mean, I'm not like, oh, I need the tight end production to be huge, because that's just not realistic in college football. There's good receivers everywhere, especially in the SEC, and I just think that like they're like based on personnel, like they're kind of like the tight ends and the receivers are kind of both fighting to who's gonna be on the field because it could either be 11 personnel or 12 personnel and stuff like that. So I mean, it's based on just like the personnel that they have and stuff. So I mean, you lose Luther Burden, you lose Theo, the two best receivers on Missouri, I feel like, and that kind of opens up the room to kind of be more tight end heavy, have two tight ends on the field more than you used to. So that was kind of eye opening, I think. So.
And I mean, besides, like Brett Norfleet, Chu James, I know they were from a different side of the state, being St. Louis guys. I mean, how much familiarity do you just have with the roster as a whole? I mean, how many guys from the KC area do you remember? Did you play against?
I know Jaylen Marshall just because I played with his younger brother growing up, playing tackle and went to middle school with him, and then the running back Ant, we trained together and stuff, and we run the hill and stuff, and do all that training back home during like the off season, and then Brett Norfleet is kind of funny. We're not like related, but like somehow we both have like the same great aunt through marriage or something like that. So it's kind of interesting there. And I mean, I don't really know a whole lot of guys on the team, but I'm looking forward to meeting them.
It's funny you bring up like just your great aunt connection with Brett Norfleet there because you have. I mean, we've kind of alluded to it. You have a lot of ties to Mizzou. I mean, your cousin Sophie Cunningham obviously is basically Mizzou royalty,
Yeah,
and
just
obviously just the entire Cunningham family.
got in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
So I'm curious. That in the Hall of Fame now. So I'm curious, actually, like, what was your reaction when you heard Sophie was getting into the Hall of Fame? And did she like kind of push you to Mizzou this time around? Did you hear from her at all?
No, I mean, obviously my whole family wanted me to go there, but I think like Lindsay and Sophie, like I was kind of during this whole process, I was, talking to them a lot, just like getting their feedback and stuff, and they weren't pushing me or anything. Obviously they want me to be at Mizzou and stuff, but I mean, they just kind of, let me just figure it out by myself over the course of the month that I did it and stuff. So I don't know. They weren't really like pushing me. Obviously they want me to be here, but no, they were good for the most part. And then seeing her get inducted to the Hall of Fame is like really cool. I mean, that was like yesterday or the day before, but no, that's definitely surreal because like I grew up with going to her games with my mom. Like we drive to Kansas City to go watch her play South Carolina at home and stuff. It was just really cool just to see her get that recognition.
And when you talk about that family and all the connections, and what was it like? Just maybe sending that text to them, to the ones that weren't on the visit with you, and just letting them know, like, "Hey, I'm coming home."
Yeah, it was definitely a cool feeling. We have a big group chat with like my whole family, and it kind of gets annoying, so I gotta do not disturb. But I mean, I kind of just texted them and just said MIZ with the yellow heart, and kind of just got a bunch of feedback. So it definitely felt really really good.
Definitely.
Just seeing all their support and stuff like that.
I want to ask you one more just
And
quick one, just about your time at Iowa. Gavin, tight end factory, I know it's kind of hard to pass up on that opportunity, but what did you just learn from Abdul Hodge, and then a guy like, is it Luke Leachy as well? Just some of those
Luke
tight
Lachey.
ends.
Lachey.
Luke Lachey, excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah. So, from Coach Hodge, I really liked him as a coach. He was really good. He helped me in high school. I didn't really have the physical aspects of my game, like hitting people. And, I think he really, Coach Hodge played linebacker in the NFL for 8 years. So, I mean, he kind of instilled that in me. Like every day at practice, we're going to be hitting, and like you got to learn to love it. So, I mean, that's something I really, enjoyed and like started to, come to love, just hitting and stuff like that. And then I like, all we did was block up at Iowa. So like we ran routes and stuff too, but like we really, if you can't block, you won't get on the field. It's just that simple. But I mean, I just think that I got pretty decent. I got pretty solid at blocking. I got way more confident in my ability in blocking compared to I was in high school. Because in high school, I just wasn't a physical player, and I didn't really have that mentality that I learned from Coach Hodge and just the whole Iowa program as a whole. So that's like the biggest thing I think I learned here. Made a lot of good friends and stuff like that as well. So
Where do you think Luke is
just kind of
going?
build.
A quick one before where do you think Luke's going to end up?
I'm honestly not sure. I know he'll go somewhere good. He was a really good leader for our team, like very vocal guy, really cool. So I'm excited to see where he goes. He's definitely gonna get drafted a really good team. So I'm excited for him.
I'm also, I just kind of want to build off what you said there. I mean, coming into this Missouri tight end room and really just Missouri in general, I mean, what kind of skill set do you think you really bring that can kind of maybe upgrade the offense?
I think that I can, I think I can play it and split out. I think I'm with my speed, my ability, and my athleticism. I think I'm able to, make some plays, like not with my hand in the dirt. That's all we kind of did at Iowa, and I got used to it. And I like put my hand in the dirt, blocking down on a 5 tech. But I mean, I don't know. I'd say just my athleticism. What I can do with just my size and my frame. I think is gonna what I'm gonna try and show off the most for sure with my opportunity.
And I mean, how much is like just playing wide receiver and just that when you kind of converted more to a tight end and kind of put on all that size, how much of an advantage does that give you just, with your ability to go up and, make plays as a receiver?
I mean, it's just like most of these DBs are like 6'1", 6'2", maybe. There's some big DBs, but they're only like 200 pounds. And if you use your body and get a good throw from the quarterback, it's pretty hard to guard, especially in the red zone and stuff like that. So I just think your size and the weight, just kind of playing bully ball in a sense, but yeah.
I'll get you out of here with just one fun one for me. Obviously, you've been to Columbia a bunch of times already. Now you're going to be there full time. I mean, I gotta ask, what's the go-to food spot for you in Columbia?
Go-to food spot. I want to say there was like, I don't know. There's my cousins used to take me to it. They had some good. It was like a little stand, but I don't really know a lot of spots down there, so I'd probably go with Bud's Barbecue or something. They had a really good smash burger that I ate, so I can't really.
That's a
go wrong
popular
with
one,
that.
no doubt.
Yeah, so I'd have to definitely go with that.
They take you there on your visit?
Yeah, I've been there twice. So yeah, I was there 2 years ago, but then last week I had a really good burger and stuff, so they had some good food there.
Well, certainly. It seems like with a lot of these recruits too, it seems like the place where they want the recruits to try out too, especially transfer portal or high school. I got two fun ones, Gavin. Jack sent one along as well. Just I'll start off with that one. He said, have you ever played as yourself in college football 25? And what did you think about your rating when you first loaded up the game?
I haven't played or actually I have played as myself, but I mean, I don't really have any say on the rating. I haven't gotten on the field yet, so I can't really, it should be higher. It's not. You got to prove that you're yourself on the field and stuff. So I don't know. It was cool. It was a real feeling to play like, damn, I'm in a video game. But yeah, no, I don't really got any opinions on the rating. It's just cool to see for sure.
And then Coach Potts sent me along this one as well. He told me to ask you about some of the sled workouts that you guys used to do in high school at his training facility and how brutal those were.
Yeah, I mean, they got a puke bucket when you walk in, so it's kind of like it's intimidating, but I'd say like it's some good work. Like if like you go in there if you come in there your first workout, it's gonna be the hardest workout he puts you through. So he just kind of wants to see if you're gonna break as a character and as a player, because like he doesn't want like just a bunch of wussies in there, just getting that bad work in. But no, yeah, I couldn't walk out of the first couple sled. I mean, it was like a 4-week thing on the sleds for that phase, but no, yeah, you can't walk out of there. It definitely gets you right though. I got a lot more explosive and stronger and stuff like that. So it's some good stuff.
He mentioned too, is like it wasn't like they're not trying to make you throw up, but they are notoriously known that they're going to push you to that limit.
Yeah.
And he wanted to hear your feedback on how that went too.
It's definitely tough. I mean, I've never personally thrown up at that gym, but I've been close sometimes. You just kind of take a little walk at some water, but yeah, you're like, damn. You kind of ask him how many sets I got, and he'll be like 8, and you're like, damn, because you got to push the sled down, and you got to back pedal with it, so you're quad, and you get done with 1 rep, and you're on your knees because you're so fatigued. But no, it's definitely like I've had a lot of high school buddies from my high school, ask me like, hey, where'd you train in high school? Like, how did you get so athletic? How'd you get so? I just give it all the top speed. I think just that if you stay consistent with them, you're gonna get some results, and that's kind of what I've shown, and some others have shown. So I've sent some guys over there as well already.
Yeah, I mean, Mizzou's even looking at guys right now, a couple years older than you, like Kevin Sullivan, another Casey area guy. So there's a lot of guys a lot of tight ends that are going there as well. Gavin, I mean, last thing, I mean, any message to Mizzou fans? Anything you're excited about?
I'm excited just to play KU this year, second game. I mean, my brother goes to KU, he's a junior there, so I'm really excited for that rivalry game because I don't know, it's exciting, and I know it's kind of just been historic, like these last, especially for my mom when she played basketball here. Like playing KU was always the most exciting thing for them. So I'm excited to play KU at home week 2. So
most definitely, he's got it circled on his calendar.
Right.
Gavin, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Wishing you the best this season, and you guys can go find Gavin on social media everywhere. Follow him, give him some more Mizzou followers, and we'll see you guys on the other side with Quick Hits.
Okay, Quick Hits time. We finish out the show. We will start Quick Hits. Jersey of the week, Kenny. Your jersey of the week, sir.
My jersey of the week is Ja'Kai Lang. I mean, talk about a guy who enters the portal and joins a team that was in the playoff. I mean, how about that? Someone that was a depth piece. But no, all jokes aside, Ja'Kai Lang finds his spot at SMU. I follow some coaches actually, or just like one coach recruiting assistant there at SMU, and he was pretty excited about Ja'Kai Lang. Saw a bunch of retweets. A lot of these guys are excited about him. He just kind of got passed up by the transfers that are coming in, some experienced guys that joined the program. And it's just one of those moves. Payton's going to have one here in a second too, where you're not too bent out of shape by losing him. You like the guy, you like the kid, but for the betterment of his career, this was a good opportunity for him to stay at a Power 4 conference.
It's like such an interesting kind of dichotomy between Mizzou and SMU as well. Casey Woods is down there. He was a borderline OC. Who could ever forget the Marcus Bryant, Hiron White trade? I personally think that'll be an all-timer for years to come. And Ja'Kai Lang is continuing that legacy. I look forward to Mizzou's return in the future.
A player to be named later, maybe in the secondary someday. I feel like that. Yeah. I feel like that would be the move. Or I guess it has to be a 1-for-1 swap. So maybe there is a defensive end down there.
You can't get a couple compensating like second round picks in the future. I've been doing, we're recording this, by the way, before the NFL draft. We will have NFL draft recap on Monday's show, just with the timing, but I've been looking at a lot of mock drafts, and there is a guy I was looking at out of SMU, Elijah Roberts. He's an edge rusher out of there. He's going to be like a day 2 pick potentially. So perhaps a pipeline from SMU to the NFL draft that maybe Ja'Kai Lang can take. And yes, hopefully Mizzou can continue the back and forth, get a player to be named. later. Payton, your jersey of the week, sir.
My jersey of the week is going to be Eddie Kelly committing to West Virginia. Of course, this is his third Power 4 school now after transferring to Mizzou from Georgia Tech and departing after a year and going to West Virginia. West Virginia is a good spot for him. They had 30 players leave in the spring window, I believe is what the number was.
Wow.
So he should have no problem carving out a role there. Good for Eddie Kelly. He was a decent depth piece for Mizzou this past year. But again, like Kenny said, they're hopefully going to have like a loaded group at that position this year. So
yeah, he was one I like. I came in with a little bit lower expectations. He definitely exceeded those. I thought like Eddie Kelly was pretty solid, and yeah, best of luck to him at West Virginia. Obviously came through from Georgia Tech. My jersey of the week, I guess it's a sponsor of the week, not for our show, but if this company would like to sponsor our show, our email is open. Anyway, my jersey of the week is going to Luther Burden. He signed with Under Armour. This tweet comes from Uniswag. So Luther Burden heading into the pros with an endorsement deal with a fairly big, company. I know it's not maybe Nike or Adidas. I'm not. I used to be way into it with like basketball shoes and like soccer cleats back in the day of like which company had like the best tech and gear and stuff. I'm not super sure who it is really for football, but obviously Under Armour, a big deal. That's a big brand. So good for Luther Burden. And obviously on Monday, we'll find out where he will be rocking Under Armour cleats, what team. So congrats to him on that deal.
Shame on Nike. This guy's been wearing Nike for a long time. Yeah, it's all. There's nothing big here. I think other than that, I think he looks good in the Under Armour sweatshirt. It looks like he got his hair done too recently. So I think Luther's enjoying it, and he's fallen on some draft boards, and even in our own mock draft, he landed in a spot where our good buddy Jacob Infante probably doesn't think he'll land with the Broncos. So it is exciting, just to see what jersey he will be wearing at the next level, because it just still in my mind, it is so weird to think Luther Burden is going to be an NFL player now. Like it just went by so fast.
Yeah, very much so.
I like no cap, and he's the main bird.
Next segment, Sean East, main bird of the week. Thank you, Mr. Sean East. Kenny, your Sean East main bird of the week.
Yeah, this one was cool. Frank Haith is joining the Texas A&M staff. Of course, there's new coach taking over there, and Bucky McMillan, the former Missouri head coach, of course.
Not Bucky McMillan, coach. Frank Haith.
Yes, Frank Haith. Do you guys want to know what the bird connection is?
Yes.
Yeah,
I would like to. We're required to know what that is.
Do you have a guess, Payton?
Oh, I don't have a guess.
Honestly. Okay, it's kind of an obscure one, but I went with Miami. He came over from Miami.
The fork.
The logo?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And the logo.
All right.
So
I can get on board with that.
But, we're going to play Mizzou again, so I think that's cool.
He was already facing Mizzou. He was on Texas's staff the last couple of years, so
that's
he's
right.
Making the jump across the rivalry lines.
Yeah, I'm very happy for Texas A&M fans. I guess maybe it's an old Big 12 rivalry.
You are
happy, but no, I am, because they're free of the Buzz Williams horrible basketball, and now they get to watch Bucky McMillan and Frank Haith. They'll be much more entertained.
Why is Kenny shaking his head? There's nothing wrong with what Jack just said.
Buzz is a great coach.
Oh,
the way he coaches.
I don't care if he's a great coach. The way they play sucks.
I muted him.
I didn't even that's the first time I've ever seen that pop up where it says your mic has been muted. That's the first time it's ever happened to me.
I've given myself some advanced powers. I paid an extra $25 a month for the streaming service, and it gives me a admin ability. Payton, your main bird.
My main bird of the week is going to be Brock Olivo. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I almost said that wrong. That would have been embarrassing. He is going into the Missouri
Showtime Lakers
Hall of Fame. Don't mention the Showtime Lakers.
Wait, was it Ole Miss or Mississippi State?
And Brock Olivo joins, of course, Sophie Cunningham as an announced Mizzou Athletic Hall of Famer in the class of 2025. He found out in front of the team at practice. Pretty cool video from Mizzou Athletics. I'm really shocked he wasn't already there. I would have assumed he was there like a decade ago, honestly. But obviously better late than never. And now he's a member of the coaching staff, of course. So
Yeah, I think the reason people think that is because he went into the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame in the last 2 years, and that kind of encapsulates his time in high school, college, and the NFL just all together. And I think that's where people are starting to think, oh, he's in there. There was another person Mizzou Athletics announced today, Alyssa Munlin, former volleyball player for Mizzou.
there you go.
They
3 members.
Shout out to Columbia, Missouri, and that's the only reason I remember the difference between the Mizzou Hall of Fame and the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, because there was people inducted in it. You have to write those articles and differentiate. That's a good point, Kenny. But yeah, congrats to Brock Olivo. My main bird of the week is going to Sam Horn, Bird Connection. Of course, he played for Collins Hill. I think they're the Eagles with Travis Hunter. Sam Horn made his debut for Mizzou baseball, pitched, I believe, just 1 inning, did get a strikeout, only gave up a hit, which, considering the result of the baseball game after Sam Horn left it, is pretty good. And he got his first strikeout. So congrats to Sam Horn. I'm sure he was very happy to be, just on the mound, obviously dealing with all those injuries, and hopefully he can keep this going, stay healthy, and have some nice games for Mizzou baseball, because frankly, that would be, probably the best story of the season, given where it is going. Again, won't mention the final score, but congrats to Sam Horn for his 1 inning pitched, fellas.
It was 11-0 in 7 innings, Missouri State.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, Missouri is not good at baseball at all. I also realized I forgot to mention my bird connection for Brock Olivo. He played for the Lazio Ducks in Italy.
Lazio.
Anyways, so there it is. But good for Sam Horn. Like you said, long journey back. Just electric stuff. Probably the best stuff on the team. Not going to lie to you. It's not a great unit. So hopefully Sam Horn is able to just get some more reps in.
I shared some TrackMan data to the message board at Mizzou today, and I mean, 96 miles per hour is where he capped, and he only threw 8 pitches in that outing and just 6 strikes. So it's like not too much to really over dissect there. But seeing him pitch for the first time in 2 years, and you kind of look back on that his last outing and what he kind of accomplished at Globe Life Field. A lot of scouts were just even excited then, after his first year, because he was a high school draft prospect too. Not too highly ranked to the spot where he might be taken in that first round, but there were a lot of, teams like they were interested in him. And I even heard going into this outing, like there were scouts buzzing, like they were excited to see him back out there, excited to see that fastball again. And good induced vertical break for those that like the IVB and they're looking for that. But yeah, it was exciting to kind of, see that from a baseball standpoint too, and just kind of talk to some people about it. And I was talking to some guys in the Astro system too. It doesn't sound like they sent anyone, but they are intrigued. They see that he's back on the mound.
Kenny's going to get Sam Horn on the Astros. This is the insider trading.
No, that is not what my job is. I'm not going to do that. That cannot be out there. I'm not doing that. Ignore Jack. He is a fan.
I'll cut it out. Yeah, that's his whole thing, right? Was that his best kind of attribute is he just throws heaters. If you guys know more ball than I do, but I feel like that's what I remember when he came in, was that was his thing. Nice. Yeah. Congrats to Sam Horn. Best thing you learned this week, Payton. What'd you learn?
Best thing I learned this week, Harrison Mevis is back on the show because he continues to tear up the UFL. He's 8 for 8 on field goals this season. With the Birmingham Stallions, of course, the back-to-back champions of the USFL, or just the UFL now. So yeah, Harrison Mevis still tearing it up in the UFL.
Yeah, the only other additional note I have off of this is that ML football account just called him the biggest kicker ever. Like no quantifier there, just the biggest kicker ever. Very good to see him still shining. Kenny, you're muted.
I'm muted. I want to talk about that. I thought I was interrupting you there for a second.
That's okay.
That is a ridiculous thing to just say. Like, I was just like, there's no backing whatsoever. Just saying the biggest kicker ever. I'm actually doing some research on this. I just looked up, some of the big ones. I feel like Janikowski's one that people think about. Randy.
I was going to say it's not like a thing against him. It's like if I was another big kicker, I'd be like, wait a minute. Why are you giving him this crown? Yeah.
So I'm looking it up right now. According to the UFL website, Harrison clocks in at 242 pounds. Pro Football Reference has Randy Bullock at 210 pounds.
Kenny, your favorite. Your
Kenny's
guy.
a big Randy Bullock fan.
Yeah.
I really don't like Randy Bullock. Sebastian Janikowski nope, that is incorrect. Sebastian Janikowski is 260 pounds last time he clocked in for an NFL team.
My
Wow,
God.
Seabass.
Seabass is the biggest.
That's like
calling
big
out that aggregator account.
That's
Whatever
like
high
big for a-
schooler is running it, you're wrong.
That's like big for a tight end. That's absurd.
Man, I
yeah.
knew
All right.
Seabass big.
So
That's
the thicker kicker, but not the biggest kicker ever, per Kenny's research. Good job, Kenny.
Thank you.
Payton. Sorry, not Payton. Kenny. Still you. What is the best thing you learned this week, sir?
Yeah, I'll just throw this out there, and I'm going to throw it right over to you, Jack, because you knew about this, but you wouldn't.
Scooped.
You wouldn't tell anyone. Jack
didn't.
scooped Flow Wrestling. Keegan O'Toole went on a little show with Flow Wrestling and explained that he tore his ACL, but still defeated Levi Haynes and Dean Hamidi. And that's just kind of the toughness that you saw from those last couple of years of Keegan in the Tiger style wrestling program. And I think just looking at him, and you've seen over the years, he's just a bad MFer is what some people say, and I think this kind of just speaks to what he kind of accomplished with Mizzou.
Yeah. I was told before, I think before it was public, that it was a knee injury. I knew it. I know a man in the world of wrestling, and I did not know it was a torn ACL though. That is wild, and so good for Keegan O'Toole. My only other wrestling thing I saw, there was a kid who I think one of their commits ran like was it the Chicago Marathon or one? He ran like a marathon, and Mizzou Wrestling was posting about him. It was one of their 2025 commits. So shout out to him. I think Kenny's going to do some quick research. But yeah, Keegan O'Toole, badass. Yeah, what was his name? Boston Marathon. There you go.
Seth Mendoza.
So I think he's a commit in 2025 for wrestling, and he ran the Boston Marathon. Pretty cool. That's my double down on
I think
wrestling.
he's a signee. I don't know if you can say commit because they can't post about commits.
Okay, yes, sorry, signee. Not to get Mizzou Wrestling in any trouble. So congrats to him and Keegan O'Toole. My best thing I learned this week. We're going away from the world of sports in Mizzou, but drama nonetheless. There was some news. This might concern, I don't know if many Mizzou students listen to this. If you do, shout out, stay in school. Panera is coming to the Mizzou Student Center, boys. We're obviously long graduated. We're old now, but this caused some off-air uproar when this news hit our airwaves. So I'm bringing it to the public eye. If you did not see, obviously it's a St. Louis brand, which is kind of fun a little bit. But Payton, I know you have a take on this in particular. Panera, what is it replacing? I totally forgot. It's the Infusion. That's right, Infusion. Which that was a popular spot I remember in the student center, fellas. How are we feeling about Panera? Not that we're students anymore. It might not be in there very often, but another name brand replacing another glorious, unique to Mizzou place in the student center. I thought this is by far the biggest news of the week, of course.
Panda Express replacing Pomodoro was one thing. They always burnt the pizza.
It's true.
That sucked. Losing Kate and Emma's was a tough one to swallow.
That hurt.
I missed the bacon, whatever bowl. That thing was delicious.
It was just Chipotle right there. It was just great.
Something like that. Yeah. This is a tough pill to swallow. Panera bread, and it is Panera. I don't care what all the folk in the replies to this Mizzou tweet say. It's not St. Louis bread, whatever. It's Panera bread. That's a tough one for me, replacing Panera, replacing Infusion. And why is that? I think it comes down to this. Infusion had a charm about it, Where would you get the gooeyest, most undercooked yet somehow delicious chocolate chip cookies ever? Where would you get 3 different shake types, all of which, if you drank like at a normal pace, would give you the worst stomach ache ever? Where am I going to get the 500-pound cinnamon roll?
Yeah.
Okay. Where am I going to get the kind of stale yet somehow decent donuts? All right. This is
not Panera.
Not on Panera. What am I going to get? A coffee and a cake pop? Come on.
That's not bad. Kenny's shaking his head. Kenny's going to go to bat.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Panera. I like Panera, but I do think I'm gonna miss Infusion.
Did you see the analytics department at Mizzou already conducted like research on this, and they found out the axing of Infusion saved people 15 minutes a day, because you could go to Infusion and order a coffee, and then you'd stand at the end of the table there at the end of the line.
Yeah, there
there,
was,
and then you'd wait and wait and wait, and you'd be like, "Hey, is mine next?" And there's 5 more people in front of you, or you're standing in line wrapped around the building. To be at Infusion. I think people are going to save time by this move.
Something tells me people didn't do actual research on that, but I like his approach to that argument.
It was an Excel sheet.
Big news, was it?
It was not an Excel sheet.
Yeah. So that's the biggest news of the week. Panera coming to the Student Center. If you are an MU student, please sound off in the comments. How do you feel about this? Are you excited for Panera Bread? We also should say Kenny now lives in St. Louis, so maybe he's biased. Maybe this is biased data that was conducted. I don't know.
Red cow.
Who was
I
surveyed?
would never call it that.
Who was surveyed? All right, that's all I got, fellas. Payton, do you have a joke for us? Finish the show.
I sure do, Jack. This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Hey guys.
Yes.
Why
Payton?
can't you trust a balloon?
Because it's full of hot air.
It sure is, Jack. That's correct. It's full of hot air.
Boom, boom, boom.
I got one too. This comes
double
from our
point.
favorite TV series, not the Today Show.
It's not as funny when you say it.
It's not from the Today Show. I don't know. I said that. Apparently, you can't use beef stew as a password.
Why can't you use beef stew as a password? Because it'll break your
It's
computer.
not stroganoff.
All right.
I'm not a big beef stroganoff guy.
Hey, Kenny, who normally tells the jokes on the show?
I do.
Yeah, let's keep it that way. All right. That'll do it for the unwritten rule. Shout out NBC. No free ads. We will have Monday. We will talk NFL draft on Monday. I was just with the timing. We're just going to wait for all the Mizzou guys to go and all that stuff. I will be there. I will try and post some content. If I see Armand Membu, I will be the paparazzi. I'll take a photo of him. Anyway, enjoy the draft, and we'll recap it on Monday with plenty of more Mizzou news to come. All right, bye.